We the people hand in hand, we the people understand that there's an answer, there's a way. We the people have to say, so send the orders to prepare, that we the people do declare.
Welcome to DN News in Review. I'm your host, Lou Ismay. Items in the news. Gaza. It's been in every single day for about a month. Usually with more than one interviews on Democracy Now! Israel seeks to protect itself, self-defense. It turns out that the rockets, in quotes, are really not rockets. They're sort of undated type of projectiles. Few pounds, maybe as much as 20, but anywhere from 5 to 20 pounds of explosives. They are not guided. They just go across. But Israel finds them to be a threat. There's much talk about the Iron Dome. Mr. Obama got the approval from Congress just within the last few days. Another $225 million or some such number goes for the Iron Dome, which supposedly, allegedly protects Israel. But it's more like an iron sieve. One of the men, professor from MIT, an expert in munitions and security, calls it an iron sieve because, and he pointed out that if you watch the videos, supposedly these encounters, he thinks it's maybe 10%, 5-10% successful interception of the projectiles. And he wonders whether it's worth the money. There'll be more to the story from time to time. There'll be a debate. But one thing is certain. Israel is very successful only, and just recently revealed, Edward Snowden's information. The Intercept, a new news organization, only a few months old, great investigative reporters, known for their accuracy, for their courage to get the news, revealed that the U.S. CIA and the Israeli intelligence service have a very close, long-time communication, arrangements to work with one another. And the United States plays an even more important role than has been previously thought, of working with the Israelis, planning the targets, giving all sorts of support. And without that, Israel would not be able to conduct its affairs its military affairs especially, to the extent that it has. There's also been some concern about war crimes. The United Nations has recognized the Palestinian state. So Palestine can now take to the International Criminal Court its concerns regarding the recent incursion into its territory, into Gaza anyway. And upon examination, as a result of this latest incursion, it's been discussed on Democracy Now!, a very recent interview, that the comparison, the way that the Palestinians are treated, the circumstances, the controls, is almost identical to the way that South Africans were treated when the South African government practiced apartheid and racism. The Palestinians are subjected to all kinds of restrictions. They can't move. They're denied food. Enough, it's restricted. Water, food, electricity, very restricted. Work, all kinds of pressures. And Gaza, that little tiny strip along the Mediterranean Sea, is surrounded by Israeli Defense Forces, IDF. Gunboats standing offshore, firing onto the beaches, into the seaside communities. Airplanes overhead, under constant surveillance of drones or by drones. Restricted passage. Now, when we think about it, in the terms used in Israel, the terminology is mowing the lawn. What does mowing the lawn mean? It means that periodically, every few years, Israel invades, destroys, kills, wounds, maims, control. Now, if it's proven in the International Court of Law that yes, there were war crimes committed, yes, civilians who were fleeing, shot and killed, schools bombed, shelled, hospitals, 7 schools altogether, UN schools crowded with refugees, 3,000 at least in one of the schools. If you look at the pictures, you can see these tanks with very long weapons. We call them guns. They're really artillery pieces. They are in the caliber, for those who know the military terminology, 155 or 155 weapons. Long range, very powerful. When they're used, they're usually long range weapons. High explosives, wide area of shrapnel, killing, maiming, wounding. When used in a community, it doesn't take very many shells to severely damage a building. If we look at the news, the photographs, the videos, whatever we have at which to look, we'll see rubble, destructions. Whole areas of communities leveled. Now there are at least 2 or 3 other things that need to be mentioned regarding the situation, even though there's been a very recent ceasefire, allegedly for 72 hours. Will it continue after that? Well, at the time of this taping for this telecast, for this broadcast, we don't have the answer. However, one issue was the rockets, in quotes, which turn out not to be rockets, something else, something that's not guided, it's just a random firing. Israel has a Iron Dome, allegedly, but this idea of an iron sieve means that there is another factor that's keeping Israelis safe. There's a law requiring bomb shelters in homes. There are many bomb shelters available for people to duck into. So the death toll is almost nothing. We might even say it's 0. But where is the evidence of any of these things, whatever they are, shot by Hamas into Israel? Where is the evidence of damage across that border? There's been no evidence presented at any time when we come to think of it. So, where are they falling? In the woods or the fields? Where? Tunnels. We've got to get the tunnels. The tunnels were plugged on the Egyptian side when the new administration came in a year or so ago. The tunnels that were destroyed were actually within Gaza, a communications network, sort of a defense kind of a thing. We saw that years ago in the ghettos in Warsaw. Not elaborate kind of defenses, bunkers and whatever they were. They were meant as an aid to resistance. That was the principle. Those have been destroyed. Allegedly, they all led across the border into Israel. 3 teenagers were captured and killed. A second lieutenant in the defense forces captured. In both instances, the Israeli government knew first, almost immediately, about the killing of the teenagers, and knew that the lieutenant had not been captured. But the rationale or the excuse of going in force and killing and wiping out buildings and so forth, those two instances with the youngsters and the lieutenant, excuses for going in and killing more people. With the lieutenant, there was something like 100 additional people killed in one particular surge, or whatever we call it. When we come down to tallying all of this up in terms of people, there have been about 1,900 people killed. When all of the rubble is going through, will it be 2,000? Something in the order of maybe 10,000 buildings? Is that what the total is going to be? What will be the total of people maimed and wounded? Will Israel pay any reparations to the Palestinians? Probably zero. Israel will wait to see and encourage the rest of us to contribute to the rebuilding of Palestine or Gaza, whatever it is. Now, it just happens to be that that's the situation, with one country occupying another and destroying part of that other. We have an international rule of law. May not be perfect, but when we examine what's going on, we realize very quickly that there are some countries that ignore international law. International law, the Geneva Convention regarding war. There are rules. Protect civilians. Don't take their land for your own use under occupation. When it comes to the United States of America, you and I have blood on our hands, don't we? We support this kind of conduct by one of our allies. We also ignore international law. There used to be a saying years ago, the Union Jack, which is the flag of the United Kingdom, the Union Jack follows the pound sterling. Pound sterling was the unit of currency. So wherever the currency went, the flag followed to protect the currency. Where do the stars and stripes go? The stars and stripes follow the dollar. That is history. Someday we're going to have to accept that as the truth, because it is. Our hands are not clean. We have a situation in our country just transiting to another subject. The dollar is involved in fossil fuels. And we see in our very neighborhood, our own communities, bomb trains with volatile petroleum oil, trains with tar sands going through residential sections of communities, commercial sections of communities, virtually without control. And people are objecting. And although it sounds completely, fantastically impossible, they may actually be able to stop the trains from running on those tracks through their communities with the dangerous cargo that could be safer but isn't. When we look to see what the accomplishments are in the world, it's people who speak up. And you and I live in allegedly a democracy. Is it a democracy? Is it a real democracy? Or is that the myth that we've come to know about? The laws and the textbooks